Hello, welcome. Whether you've deliberately clicked on this randomly or the algorithms fed this to you for some reason. In any case, I am a psychologist in training, and you know what? I just thought I'd come back from work and I have a few thoughts to share. So here we go. Cue the fancy video transition animation thing here. No, not going to happen. I'm just going to leave this unedited, and I want to do something that just comes free flowing. It's great to have production. It's great to have editing. Great to have animations. But I think at least I want to just have an unfiltered conversation with myself and maybe whoever's watching. So if there's some benefit in here, then good. If there isn't, I will accept humbly any feedback that helps improve my style, improve my process. But otherwise, this is me. So what do I want to talk about? I've got a whole script and a list of things there, but I just want to freestyle a little bit so that there's a little bit of humanness to this. There's a lot of scripted aspects, and it may surprise you, may not surprise you, but it took a long time. It took a lot of repetition. I had to record and re-record and stop and delete and fiddle around with all these different options and controls and functions. But I just thought, you know what? Sometimes just simple human connection is the way to go. So that's my idea. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm even going to just switch this off to keep away from any other distractions. And what I might do is talk about a little bit of some content relating to mental health. As a psychologist, there is a lot that we do, and I thoroughly enjoy the aspect of interactive conversations. I think some people can relate to that. I'm speaking in isolation and it's not very rewarding. So I like the interactivity of having another human being go through their life and talk about issues. And something interesting struck me, and I want to share this. This is an important takeaway. So a recent patient of mine sat down with me. We had a discussion, and I went through just basic what we call sort of case formulation, what came before, what were the triggers, what are the factors that maintain the situation. I'm getting understanding about general functioning, how's your sleep, how are you sort of exercising, if you're exercising at all, any significant weight gain, weight loss, what's your nutrition look like, moods throughout the day. All of these seem to be fine. And this has happened with other patients over the years as well. And this one time I caught myself. I thought to myself, this person's fine. This is my internal dialogue. I thought, this person's fine. Send them away. Save them lots of money. Save me lots of time. And save them time. And don't put them through the process. There's no need. And then I realized I've become a product of my training. And it was a poignant moment of reflection for me, and it sort of woke me up. And I shared this, and I want to share that with you. If anyone can guess what my issue was, because I ran into this issue, and so I want to share that. Have a guess and have a think. Maybe just consider, because all of these things were fine. There were no apparent red flags, and in our sort of pursuit sometimes of searching for health and wellness, we sometimes look at the issues that are salient, that pop out, that stick out, that are eyesores, that are red flags, that are problematic, that we deem as either challenges or illnesses or issues or problems. And so I've dropped a few breadcrumbs there if there's any hint. But what I ended up doing was I was trying to find pathology. I was trying to find the problems. I was trying to fit this person into a category that's been defined by others. What are the symptoms? Let's do the checklist. Let's go through. And I'm mentally just kind of going through, trying to fit their definition of their description of their mood and their life circumstances and the challenges they're experiencing in their cognitions. And I'm trying to put all that, it's complex, and I'm trying to put all that, and I'm trying to find a label. I'm trying to find even if it's just transient, even if it's just in just in pencil, just as an idea, just my initial clinical impression, as it were, just to find out what this person is suffering from. And I came to the conclusion, and I shared this. So without further delay, I basically said, you know what? I've become a product of my training, and I'm pathologizing. I'm trying to find problems. I'm asking questions that are eliciting responses from you, where you will tell me about the issues that you're facing and the challenges and the problems. And often that there's a place for that. There's a time for that. It's warranted. It's important to help people improve. But I said, and I just realized that, and I'm sharing this with you as well, that we sometimes either unnecessarily pathologize or over pathologize. And what that means is, when you look for faults, you take a car, even a brand new car, if you take it to a mechanic and you say there's something wrong with it, here you go, have a look, inspect the vehicle, and tell me what you think is wrong. That mechanic is trained to find dysfunction, to find faults, find, design flaws or usage problems, wear and tear, manufacturing issues, whatever it might be. But eventually, there's two issues here. One is a conflict of interest. This person, he or she, has a vested interest in finding a problem. If they're honest, they will be aware of that, and they will say, look, there's a problem. Here's what it costs, whether you want to do it or not. I'm not going to go hungry tonight. If you want to fix it, we can fix it. Here are the costs. Here's how much time it's going to take, and so forth. They'll be very transparent and open with that. But first, you've got to recognize the conflict of interest there, because it's in their interest to make sure the vehicle might be faulty, so they can fix something. They want to be useful. It's a business at the end of the day. They've got bills to pay. They've got mouths to feed. The other thing is they're looking for faults. They're not going to walk around and tell you everything's fine, the tire treads perfect, and your exhaust pipes blowing out, perfect emissions, and the engine sounds beautiful and it's well oiled, and just give you a clean bill of health for the car. Right? It's pointless. It's useless to do that. There are probably I realize I'm outside of my lane here when I'm talking about automobiles, but I would presume there are, crews and groups and businesses and organizations that optimize vehicle performance, not just to repair a puncture in the tire, or overhaul the engine because of a gasket that's blown, but actually improving the performance of the vehicle, right? And using that analogy, sometimes we think we have to be sick in order to benefit from, well, I'll speak from my perspective. I'm a psychologist. You don't have to be mentally ill to benefit. You don't have to have problems in your life to benefit. You might just be a baseline. You might have a good life, and you just want a great life. And I was really pleased with myself in the sense that I was able to recognize my bias in trying to find pathologies and faults in this person, so that I could start working on them, start techniques and strategies, and give them some understanding. And hopefully in subsequent videos, I would like to share with my audience, I suppose, some of those things that I find useful, that I think other people find useful, anecdotally, from my perspective, from my clinical practice, so that, even if it's a group of you or just one of you, find some benefit in that. But I think initially, if you take an X-ray, just think about this for a second. If you take an X-ray, if you go and have an MRI, if you have a blood test, if you do all of these, if you get a checkup, if you do a personality test, if you do an intelligence test, if you respond to some questionnaires that ask you about your mental health or your emotionality, your affect, your functioning, it's very hard to have a perfect score. It's very hard to have a perfect scan. It's very hard to have a perfect blood test. There's always going to be something that's going to stick out. So sometimes the more you itch, the more you want to scratch, and the more you search for itches, the more you end up scratching those things. And I don't want to stick a finger in anyone's wound. pun intended. But there are moments when, yes, there are legitimate pathologies and people have serious and genuine need for treatment, and that's important. And I just want to share that moment that I caught myself, I suppose, searching only for pathologies, and it turned into a good conversation. We turned it around, and it was something that was, I think, useful. From my perspective. So we had even a sort of meta conversation about that, about the discussion itself, to see how that helps. And it was very relieving. There was a sense of solace. There was a sense of relief, to know that there was conscious awareness and deliberate, action and decision making happening during this process of that particular consultation. So I guess what's the takeaway? Don't over pathologize yourself. Yes, we all have issues. There's this saying we often say, I don't feel 100%. Someone asks, how you doing? How are you? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm I'm not 100%. It's a rare day, and there might be those days, and that's great. That's excellent. And if you feel 100% a lot of the time, then you're doing something right. But usually, from my experience, there are rare times when one feels 100%. And it's important to take note of that. Not necessarily to quantify, but just to understand that it's okay. We have our off days, and we can strive to be 100%. We can have an idyllic goal. We can set that as a matter of satisfaction for ourselves. And so we can find ways to improve aspects of ourselves, whether it's our physicality, our neuronal health, our cognitive health, our memory, our knowledge, our skills, like, whatever pursuits we might be trying to sort of work on and overcome certain challenges. But yes, there are times when the severity of certain symptoms increases, but understand there is also a normal range within which we're able to function and be unaffected, whether it's work-related life, school life, study, and relationship issues. There's a level, there's a margin within which we can maintain normal function and just be able to understand that these are the ebbs and flows of life. We don't need to, poke our finger in the wound and fiddle around in there too much, because, it helps to understand the mechanics of why something is. And I think there's immense relief in that, in understanding. It's an important aspect that I would like to, at some point, cover. But I think initially just understand that sometimes, it's a human condition. I like that sort of expression, that this is a human condition. What I'm experiencing, it's very human of me to be thinking this way. Am I making a storm in a teacup? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill? And one of the skills that we would like to sometimes learn is the development of being able to flexibly zoom in and zoom out from myopia to a macroscopic view as well, right? So we develop a microscope so we can really zoom in manifold and actually understand the mechanics and look at things at the cellular and molecular levels to understand how they interact and derive satisfaction from that. But we've also got to zoom out and have a telescope that we've built for ourselves and be able to look outwards as well. So with that, I hope you have development and the ability and the capacity and just the awareness even. There's levels of awareness, and you have unconscious incompetence where you don't even know that you don't know. Then you have unconscious competence where you become aware that you don't know. Then there's conscious competence where you're aware of your knowledge. And then there's unconscious competence where you do it in a way where you don't even realize it, right? And it just happens. It's just automatic. You can't recall the steps in between. If you really try, you probably could. I hope I didn't mess up that progression there. But basically, you're moving through stages of competency. And I hope that's been useful for you today. But develop, if anything, one takeaway message would be, if we're microscopic in our approach, let's learn to develop telescopes so we can look outwards, and let's maintain the ability to zoom in as well as zoom out. See you in the next one.